Casey at the Bat is a 1954 Disney short, and I quite like baseball. I love Disney animations. I thought I'd really love this, but actually, I felt like it fell a little bit short. There was a lot of hysteria, a lot of women fainting, and kind of fawning over Casey. And I kind of, on the one hand, think, yeah, that's great. That's kind of a lot of the attitudes at the time. I completely understand that. But at the same time, there was an element of kind of claustrophobia about the animation. And I don't know if that makes a lot of sense. That's how I feel. Hopefully, if you watch the short, which I suggest you do if you're a fan of Disney, just to say you've seen it and to form your own opinion. But when I watched it, I just felt like every scene was really busy and overcrowded and never really allowing you the chance to appreciate what was on the screen at any one time, because by the time you adjusted to it, it changed to the next scene or the next frame or the next cell or whatever. So I didn't particularly enjoy it. The other thing as well is that I actually watched this in the wrong order. I watched Casey Bats Again, which is actually the sequel to this, where he has daughters who go on to play baseball. So I thought, okay, I really enjoyed that one. Let's see what the origin of this Casey character is. It's based on the ballad I hadn't heard of until researching for this. Definitely worth checking out if you are interested in this short at all. But I'm treating this as kind of the introduction of the character to Disney fans, to animation fans, to anybody like me who hadn't heard of the ballad. And to be honest, I feel like it's not as good as the sequel. The sequel had a stronger message, it was more powerful, it was more impactful. The actual quality of the animation itself, the pacing of the narrative, was far superior. This one just didn't seem to live up to the expectations that the sequel had set. And of course, it's unusual, not unheard of, but unusual for a sequel to be better than, not even as good as, but better than the original. So I don't necessarily know what that says about this, but I feel like there are a lot of things in this that I would have done differently that didn't work for me. I just did not find it pleasing at all. And unfortunately, fortunately, that rarely happens with Disney. There are very few Disney animations where I've genuinely not liked it at all. So maybe it's just the mood I'm in, but I have literally just watched the sequel like 5 minutes before watching this one. So I'm in the same frame of mind. Maybe the sequel is just so good that it raised the bar too high and this just didn't quite meet it. There's nothing wrong with it in terms of, the scaling of the animation, the colouring, everything looks really pleasing in that sense. The narrative that's presented flows quite well. I just think the pacing of it is quite bad. But it's not awful, it's not terrible, but I didn't find any real enjoyment in it whatsoever. But that does mean that if you've watched this and you didn't like it, but you have then since avoided Casey Bats Again, I would still recommend you check out Casey Bats Again. It's got a much different vibe, much more satisfying, much easier to watch, definitely a lot more pleasing. Casey at the Bat is not awful, it's not terrible, but I wouldn't say it's very good.